Okay, let's start. Thank you for the introduction, Alan. Always a pleasure to chat with you. I'm Gerard. I've been working on a research and innovation project for the industry, not for the academia. Mainly on NLP, conversational search, and reinforcement learning since a dozen of years now. So conversational QA for pilots, that's quite peculiar use case, as you can imagine. And the idea is to reflect on this use case, present you some interesting aspect, of course, and to see how it can be generalized to a type of conversational assistant with a rare use case, rare settings, and uncommon goals, I would say. So diving in, so the study is quite old. It has been finished in spring last year. And I was working for Airbus at that time. Well, I'm still working for Airbus officially, but I'm on sabbatical right now. So the goal is in a large-scale program at Airbus to support future aircraft operation. And by future aircraft operation, they mean the next generation aircraft where it's likely to have only one pilot during most of the flights. So the goal is to optimize a little bit how the aircraft are flown today, and to be able to have the pilot on rest for the long run flight. So only one pilot active during the cruise part, and the other one can rest. And so they have a rotation like that. So as you can imagine, it's a very long program, and you won't see this kind of aircraft on the air before long, before 10 or 20 years probably. But still, there is a lot of things to explore and to understand what part of the pilot work can be supported and can be augmented by some new technology. So there is some public information that you can gather on the website of Airbus. They have some videos on automated landing and automated taxiing on an airport. But today we will focus on one specific use case, which is not well understood or not well known by the public, which is how the pilot consult documentation during the flight. So as you can imagine, an aircraft is a quite complex system, and there is a lot of information on how to operate each of the aircraft. So these are just some extract of manuals that are used by pilots during the flight, and these are procedures for any kind of complicated event. So all the pilots are certified and they know all of these procedures by heart. But as you can imagine, every aircraft has their own life cycle. Some, I don't know, the engine or some other part of the aircraft could be changed, and so the manual is updated due to this life cycle and change of the aircraft. So the pilot has always the perfect information to adapt his flying directive and to adapt all the procedure on all the cases. In this procedure, they find also information about complicated or rare events, like you can imagine some technical events that can occur during the flight, which they can handle, and they always go back to the manual because this kind of event can be very rare, and they have to remind themselves on how to work with the aircraft at this moment. So initially, this document were actually on paper, and they have big binder in the cockpit, and they were able to dive in when they had a problem. Today, as you can see here on the screenshot, they have these tablets in most of the time, and the documents are available on these tablets with a simple application and simple search engine that make it easier to navigate into this document. But still, these documents are a bit raw and a bit hard to exploit, especially when you are under pressure, because there is a pressing incident that you have to take care of, or multiple action that you have to take. So the goal is to see how digital assistant and conversational assistant especially could be a use for this particular use case on documentation and, let's say, troubleshooting for events in the cockpit. So a few words about the project first, very brief. So about the team, so we were 5 people working on the team in the Airbus AI research, so the corporate research part of Airbus, directly attached to the CTO. Where we are doing a research for all activities in Airbus. So the NLP team is these 5 people. So Pooja, Catherine, Alexandre, François, and myself. And we were supported also by partner from academia. So Dr. Yingxiang Liu from University of Southern Denmark, who is an expert into interactive evaluation for this kind of search system. And ENAC School, which is an aeronautical school. They have a lab on the human interaction, and they have actually this cockpit which can be customized to make some experiments in an immersive environment. And of course, we were working with Rasa already at that time. Quick word about the project timeline. So all in all, I think the project was a little bit than 9 months, which is quite short, and we were very happy. We had a very strict industrial organization to manage data collection, model training, and validation of result. And as you can imagine, everything was awesome, and yeah, not really. So we managed to keep the timeline, and we finished the project experiment just before the pandemic, which was a big plus for us because it would have been impossible. But just to reassure everyone working, I don't think there is a straight way to go into this conversational agent systems, and there is always a lot of discovery, especially for corner case like ours. So don't worry if your project are not going straight away. Even big industrial research entities like ours, we have had a lot of discovery along the way and a lot of updated on our choice and our timeline. Well, at least a segmentation of the project times. So quickly, I will present you an overview of the system and just to show you what was our solution. So going through all the hectic choice and all the change in the prototype. So the user interface was actually kept quite simple and quite straightforward. So on the left part here are 3 columns. So the first column on the left, so you have the chat. You have the classic prompt and answer given by the chatbot. On the right part, you have the document viewer. So that was a very important part that was highlighted. A constraint actually from the engineering people from Airbus is that only the documentation, the official Airbus documentation, is certified for an aircraft, and the pilot must take his decision based on this documentation and this documentation only. So whatever information we provide in the chat, we will always presenting the corresponding document from which this information was extracted, and it was the responsibility of the pilot to make the decision, because he's the sole owner of this decision, based on the certified documentation. So basically on the left, you chat with the chatbot. You can ask a question. When you have a very specific question, chatbot can provide you answers or pointers to the documentation. And in between, in the result viewers, you have the list of possible answers, which could be different part of the same document, which could be also different documents. So you can navigate a little bit like in a search engine results. And then you can explore the document to confirm that the answer is what you expected and to confirm the decision that you will take. There is other small features like bookmarking, but I would say that's anecdotal for this study. So that's the front end. We had also a voice interface, and then I will come back a little bit better on that. So in terms of backend, it was actually something that is becoming classic architecture. So with a question answering engine at the center of the problem. So this question answering model today are based on the large scale deep learning model like BERT. But they are still a little bit slow, so you cannot process all the documents for every question coming in. So before the QA engine, you need a search engine, classic search engine, to be able to filter out among the documentation. Just to give you some numbers, for A320, which is one of the most flown aircraft today for Airbus, the classic flight crew operating manual is something like 3,000 or 4,000 pages. So that's quite enormous, not for a search engine, but for a human, you can imagine that you want a faster way to access this documentation. And then you have the dialogue engine, which was Rasa, as you can imagine. So processing the answer provided by the question answering system and let's say packaging it into a meaningful way to be able to handle any uncertainty and to be able to even refuse to answer some question when the system was not sure of the response. So just if you want some more details on how we implemented this, so we published a paper on arXiv. I can share you the link later on. But we used mainly open source components, not because it's free. It was mostly because it's reliable and it's solid. And at the heart of the QA engine was a BERT model that was trained on the Squad 2 dataset. Okay, so let's switch now to the conversational model, which is the most important part, I would say, for this talk today. So the problem we had is that we are a corner case. As you can imagine, there is no much existing system or even existing study on how to support pilots with conversational agent in a cockpit. There is whole studies for command and control system. So basically voice command system for pilots in aircraft, but never we have found specific activities on conversational assistant where you really have a conversational and not just a command to execute. So our first problem was to find some commonalities between our use case, trying to define the different aspects of our use case and try to find in the literature or in the other existing studies something that could be closer to our problem. So what we found is that so this is a goal-oriented chatbot, as you can imagine, and it's relatively technical, relying on an external documentation data set, and with some back and forth, we were expecting, let's say, troubleshooting use case mainly. So one of the closest study that we have found was the MS Dialog dataset, which is a dataset of technical troubleshooting for computer software, published by Microsoft, I think, and which is already analyzed and completely labeled with some intent and response. So it was a manual analysis of real-world conversation, where we had actually something like 2,000 conversation and a dozen of intents identified. So we worked with that data set, but we explored much more than that. Again, we published that 2019, early on in the study, about all the data set that we found and how to characterize our use case, which could be a good grid to analyze this kind of corner cases. So we found commonalities, we found a data set. Then the next step was to try to create our conversational model from scratch without actual real conversation in a cockpit, of course. So basically what we did is we extracted a simplified version of the MS Dialog model. So we reduced from 12 intent to only 8 intent to try to understand the link between this intent and the kind of conversation that were occurring in this troubleshooting scenario. But this, let's say, rough model was quite limited. So what we did is to make it a little bit more user-friendly. We had a chit-chat skill, which is a simple model that is already a simple skill available in Rasa. And very early on, we found that adding this chit-chat skill was, let's say, smoothing the angle of this troubleshooting technical model and make it more agreeable to the end users. Okay, so based on that, we had to construct our training data, as you can imagine. So what we did, since we didn't have a conversation from cockpit again, is we extracted the utterances from the MS Dialog dataset, but the dialogue here are based on the online conversation, not in a chatbot. So you can imagine that the back and forth were there, but the utterances were very long, usually several lines of text trying to describe completely the problem, then the technical expert coming back with several questions at the same time and then coming back. So what we did is we filtered to keep only the short utterances and sometimes splitting some of these in the same intent to get a more example and more compact examples. we removed all reference to unrelated target domain. As you can imagine, it was related to software system, and we are talking about aeronautical systems. So we remove all the relation, the entities related to product name, to operating system, or to hardware, the hardware equipment. Then we kept these basic chit-chat samples. We had dialogue samples based on the transitional model. So basically, we generate the dialogue samples based on these short inferences and short sample for each of the intents. And then we try and test and try to balance the overall datasets, because as you can imagine, some intents were much more pregnant than others, and it was difficult to get a good level of performance without trying to let's say tweak. So most of the time, what we did is we filter out intent with too many examples, and a particular one was actually the question part. So one of the biggest intent, as you can imagine, for that one, since all the questions on MS Dialog were too much specialized into software system. So we train our own model we create our own set for the question used to generate the intent samples. So we use data augmentation, so UDA from Google. This is a sec-to-sec model related to machine translation, but instead of translating from one language to another language, it's translating, let's say, normal sentences to questions. So what we did is we took our old documentation, so 4,000 pages. We kept only the pure text part, not the structured information that is in the table or in the graph. And then we created this dataset of 16,000 questions. So of course, having one intent with 16,000 samples was very much unbalanced. So we had to split each question in the 5 W. So what, when, where, which, how, and as you can imagine, so we split all of these questions to sub-intent, I would say. And then we undersampled each of these intents to get only 1,000 example per intent, so 5,000 in total. And that was much more balanced with the others. And I think in the end we achieved 95% recall and 94% precision, which was good enough for our system. And lastly, what we did is we assessed the performance on a custom domain question dataset. So we did create a small dataset on domain based on the documentation and made by Airbus engineers, experts. But it was very small, as you can imagine, because every time when you create a new dataset, you have a lack of resources and a lack of, let's say, tools, maybe, to create this. So only 3,000 questions and answers were available, but it was enough for us to use it as a test set and to validate that these questions on topic were not mixed with the chit-chat example, and that the NLU model was performing very well, and that in the end that the dialogue model was also performing well. Next step for us was evaluation. So a big topic for us because what we wanted, more or less following the advice from Alan also that you just gave during the keynote, is try to put your chatbot in front of your real user as soon as possible. So we didn't want to do offline evaluation. We didn't want to do evaluation on the table in the lab environment. We tried to go to the closest as we can to the real environment. So too early to go in a real aircraft with this kind of system. There is too much certification to make and too much complication to integrate with the existing system. So what we did is we simulate the environment into a cockpit simulator, and also difficult to access to real pilots. So we access student pilots from the aeronautical school here in Toulouse, one of the biggest school in Europe for that. And so we put in place a complete interactive experiment with a clear protocol to define all the tasks, all the activities that the pilot has to do with the chatbot, but also with the system to be in a realistic environment. So in the end, so we choose the interactive user study model with two systems. So we compared the existing system, which is the electronic flight book or EFB, to our assistant, which we named the smart librarian assistant, even if it was not so smart than that, but it was good enough for us. So we used the A320 simulator that was provided by the ENAC school, and we set up 5 realistic tasks with 2 levels of difficulty and 5 minutes per task, 5 minutes per task for the users. So basically, the student pilot were put in the situation, had a few flight control activity to do before an event occurred, and then they had to solve a technical problem with the chatbot, or to do some other command on the flights. So the study was recorded through qualitative analysis with questionnaires and quantitative user interaction measured. So all the logs of the system were collected. So as I introduced, we had a voice interface for this model, but for this interaction, we disabled it. So the user were only typing the question on their tablets, which is actually closer to the existing system. In the existing electronic flybook, they have to type the queries. And we didn't want to have a mix in this study with the voice interaction, which is a new system, and the conversational assistant, which is a new system. So there are several studies ongoing already on voice interaction, but we didn't want to mix everything here. So in the end, just some insight on some of the tasks. Well, that's actually all the tasks that we did. So some training tutorial at the beginning to remember the student, what are the captain's duty and responsibility in the aircraft. So you can imagine that this is long documented in length in the flight book tools. And then some of these scenarios were randomly given to the students. So one of the example is that there is a crack on the windshield. So the windshield are just a window in the cockpit, and there is a crack for whatever reason, and they have to handle the problem and to make the correct decision in time to assess and to take into account this problem. So you just from memory, I think in that situation they have to slow down the aircraft, to go down, so to change the flight level, and then to contact the nearest air control to request for emergency landing if there is a big crack, and to also do some assessment on the severity on the crack, if it's just outside, inside, if it's hair leaking or something like that. And they have and they had all of this fun scenario. I can talk a little bit more in detail if you have questions about that. But all are realistic scenario, and all of this stuff are actually documented into the flight crew operating manual. So that's very important to know that there is a procedure for every cases in this aircraft. So in the end, what was the result of this study? So the biggest question, can an assistant help in the cockpit? So the answer was yes. Overall, we found positive results on that. Of course, the question is not as simple as you can imagine. So just to give you an illustration of the result that we've published in this paper. So basically, the existing system and our own system were on par, which was the most important part, both for the easy task and for the hard task. So on the y-axis, it's the time spent to solve the problem. So the smaller, the better. So basically, we were a comparable quality compared to the existing system, and it was a little bit better, not really for the easy task, but for the hard task, it was significantly better, even if the graph here doesn't show that much. But again, that was not a competition between the existing system and the new system. The objective was to see if a new conversational assistant could be used for this technical troubleshooting problems, how it was perceived by the pilots. And we had several more, let's say, human factor question and human factor research hypotheses that were validated, and one which was unvalidated. And overall, it shows that it's a good path forward. And it can help for hard situation, and we know also it will help for other cases which were a little bit more straightforward, like we discussed before. So supporting communication with air control and handling other part of the, let's say the flight steps. So we are thinking mainly on doing the pre-flight briefing and pre-takeoff briefing. Okay, in synthesis, so conversation question assistant for advanced user. That's really the use case. You have to make some abstraction of the cockpit, some abstraction of the pilot use case. What we have is a very high level user with a lot of training and a lot of expertise and operating a very complex system. So we have that for the aircraft and for the pilot, but we have that for the mechanics on the ground, which is doing the maintenance. So he's facing technical problems. He has to repair an aircraft or to do the maintenance of an aircraft. There is ton of documentation. He's a certified aeronautical engineer, and he has to use this documentation as fast as possible to solve problem. So what we've shown with this short study is that so it's usable. We can deploy this kind of conversational assistant. It's helping this advanced user in many of these cases. And for now, we just compare in similar operation, but as you can imagine, these new capabilities will change their way of working and their operation to take into account and to take most benefits from this conversational assistant. And it has good performance compared to existing system and in a relatively specific scenarios. But there is a lot of promise and good technical capabilities that could be deployed to again improve this performance for technical troubleshooting given an existing documentation. And taking again a step back on design and implementing a conversational agent for technological domain, so highly technical domain. So my takeaway message would be to focus on scenario that could be aligned with existing other domain. In our case, we try to find commonalities with computer software and technical troubleshooting, even we are talking about piloting an aircraft. But in terms of conversational model, there is a lot of commonalities that could be reused. Using existing domain knowledge to adapt the dialogue sample. So that was a big plus for us. So switching from the sample of the question intent and generating this sample from our documentation improved a lot our model performance. And then try to start simple. So as I said, only 8 intents in our model, and try to iterate as fast as possible with the real user. So in our case, we made only a few rounds of iteration, and then we went for this, let's say, more strict and protocol to evaluate. But I feel that's the way to go, and this is what they are doing right now to iterate more closely with real pilots right now, test pilots, and to try to tackle more scenario and more capabilities for this conversational assistant. But again, a lessons learned for us is that there is no actual need for pre-existing conversational data to test this kind of complex cases for conversational assistant. So in the end, so going toward a generic technical QA assistant is one of our research goal. So the topic on supporting pilots in the cockpit is still under study, but as I said, I'm on sabbatical, so I don't follow that very closely. And there is also topics to support technical people working on the aircraft during mechanic maintenance, or also during just the assembly of the aircraft. And there is a few ways that we have to improve to make this conversational assistant and QA assistant very useful. So first of all, enabling the voice interaction, because in many of these use cases, our users are occupied, so just doing stuff in the aircraft cockpit, or mechanics on the aircraft having their hands occupied by tools or by many things. We are also working on extending the question answering capabilities. So this model that I presented was only what we call the span QA. So you can only extract response that are in pure text in the documentation, but we are exploring a way to exploit table databases, graphics, and other illustrative materials. So in the documentation for aircraft, there is a lot of graphical pictures, drawings that are very important for these users, and we have already some material for that. And then there is a lot of things to improve the dialogue capabilities. One of these would be trying to get more feedback and try to exploit more in details the feedback from the users. And that's it. I will just end with one last slide for acknowledging the support from the company and the support from our partner during this study. And thank you very much for listening, of course.